time. I'd like to talk to you about electoral systems. I understand that you're a supporter of the electoral system should be switched to alternative voting.
Well, I believe in an electoral system that's more proportional than the one we have at the moment. The problem with first past the post is I think it effectively disenfranchises a lot of people. And I think we need to look at changes to the electoral system, because if we are thinking about trying to involve the public more, trying to make our parliament more representative of the public, trying to give people reasons for engaging with the process, then I think an electoral system which makes every vote count equally and produces fairer results that more reflect public choice, I think that would be an important contribution towards strengthening the democracy we have.
And do you think AV goes far enough towards that aim, because it still would lead to votes not necessarily counting in marginal in safe seats?
Yes, I accept that AV is not pure proportional representation as some people would see it. It is, if you like, a halfway house. But there are important features of our electoral system that we shouldn't mess about with, and I think one thing that's really key to people here is the constituency link. I think it's a settled part of our electoral and constitutional arrangements that people know they have a Member of Parliament representing their area. That establishes a very direct line of communication. There is someone I can go to, I know who it is, I take up the issue there. We shouldn't break that. Therefore, the move to purely proportional representation systems, which inevitably involve multi-member constituencies, I don't think would work as part of our system in this country. So I'm in favour of retaining a very strong constituency link. The only way, therefore, to get a more representative electoral system is to move to add AV to the single-member constituency system. So I think it's as far as we can go, keeping those parts of our arrangement which are settled and popular, but it moves us on from a system that at the moment it doesn't fairly represent people's views.
So AV certainly isn't a step along the way to, say, proportional representation or AV top-up, as the Jenkins...
No, I wouldn't want to go that far. I think it takes us down a road that takes us a long way away from what is a settled and accepted and valued part of our current electoral arrangements.
And so there's a review of the electoral systems coming out later on this year, and of course in 1997 it was a manifesto promise of Labour to reform the electoral system. Can you give me an idea of what you might be expecting from this review?
Well, the approach so far has been to try different areas of electoral reform in different parts of our constitution, and I think that's been helpful because we have a number of schemes running now. I think this gives us an opportunity to review the reforms that we have already introduced, to test what's happened in terms of public commitment to them, levels of participation, voter understanding, and so forth. And perhaps an opportunity to review what we have done, stand back a bit, and therefore I think it will help us decide what the next step should be towards furthering the programme of electoral reform. And
finally, is it likely that the Labour government will actually take any action on this? Because wouldn't it be against Labour's interests in electoral stakes even to introduce AV?
No, I don't accept that that will be the reason, governments should not take decisions about electoral systems on the basis of what advantages which party or the other, because that would bring discredit on the whole notion of looking at these arrangements. I think it's right to look at these arrangements in the context of renewing our democracy and strengthening public involvement. And those are really the only criteria that should count, not party interest. But I do think there's an opportunity to go forward with this now. We've been honouring the commitment to introduce fairer systems of voting into the whole of the way we do our politics. It's happening at national level in terms of the Scottish and Welsh parliaments. It's happening at local government level, it happens at European level. I happen not to like the European system that we've got, but at least we have been trying proportional methods of voting. I think it's ripe now to bring the debate on to what about the future of Westminster. Because what's different now is now we've got some practical experience of more proportional systems in operation in the United Kingdom. That's what's changed, and I think that gives us a good opportunity to reopen the question about which system should apply to votes for Westminster.
And this ties in with the government's brought constitutional reforms in restoring trust in politics and politicians.
I think it does, because I think my whole reason for wanting to have another look at the Westminster system is driven by concern about voter disengagement. And I think too many constituencies where results are regarded as an inevitable or foreseen outcome, there's a disincentive to participate. And I'm concerned about what we're saying to people in terms of the value of their vote. And at the moment, the electoral contests tends to revolve around a key number of people in key constituencies. Well, actually, everybody's vote counts, and everyone's vote is of equal importance. And I think if there's a system that is more explicit in saying that, I think that's a big step forward to encouraging engagement.